Hey, this is Nicolosi, and in this video I'd like to showcase what's new in Mela 6.12. I'm running Mela on my macOS in a standalone mode, but of course you can use it on your iPad or iPhone or inside your favorite DAW as an AUV3 plugin. Okay, let's first discuss what's new in a VA Oscillator module. And I have a very simple preset here, note event followed by note to pitch to convert our note tone events into pitch signal to trigger our VA oscillator, which has a sine waveform loaded. Then we have a pitch distortion module. At the moment it's doing nothing, followed by pitch oscilloscope to visualize our resulting waveform, and then amp envelope, volume, and audio out. A few weeks ago I was playing with a pitch distortion module, and I realized that with tilt set to maximum, I can morph the sinusoid into an alternating sine shape. So I realized I could take alternating sine shape in VA Oscillator and add a shape parameter to allow it to morph from sinusoid to alternating sine shape. And this is what it sounds like. And then I realized I could do a similar thing with a rectified sinusoid. So here I have a fully rectified sinusoid shape. And then again, if I use the phase distortion, I can turn it into a half-wave rectified sinusoid. So what I did is that I merged two shapes. The VA oscillator used to have half-wave rectified sine and full-wave rectified sine. Now we just have rectified sine. And with its shape parameter, I can morph between the two shapes. So let's see what that sounds like. Note that the reason the waveform goes up and down here is that when you convert sinusoid into a rectified sine shape, it introduces DC offset. So VA oscillator automatically compensates for the DC offset, and that's why the shape moves up and down vertically here. Okay, let's discuss this second demo preset and what's new in MIDI modules. Here I have a note event module, and its output is routed to lane 2. I also have a modulator group here, and we will discuss that later. And on lane 2, I have a chord and Arpeggiator modules currently bypassed, followed by a transposer, MIDI to poly, a stack of oscillators, amp envelope, chorus, volume, and audio out. Now, there was one important change in this update that makes life easier. Basically prevents stuck notes in cases where you're holding down a chord one way or another while editing a preset. By editing, in this case, I mean you're moving modules around, or you're removing a module or inserting a new one. So for example, I have a transposer module, and if I trigger a note on here, and while I have the note held, I delete the transposer module and then release the note, the MIDI to poly module will receive note of message that is 1 octave lower than the note on it received. And that obviously could cause a stuck note. And in order to prevent such cases, what Mela does now is that as soon as module is removed, a new module is inserted, or lanes or modules are moved around, it resets all modules, and that prevents stuck notes. So let me demonstrate. I'm going to turn note on event, and while it's on, I will delete transposer module. Okay, so what happened now? As soon as I deleted it, all the modules were reset, and what note event does is that when it's reset, after reset, it will retrigger a note on event if the event value is above 50% and it retriggered the note. And when released it, there were no stuck notes. So this makes life easier, and also the latest changes made to the MIDI modules shouldn't cause any stuck notes. If there are cases where you're still getting a stuck note, please let me know. I would like to address it. Okay, if you have been following closely with the changes have been made to the last few versions of Mela, you will know that I've been converting all modules to have their own parameter, more performance-oriented. So that means you can use the own parameter to turn module on or off, and it should sound musical. You shouldn't get clicks. You shouldn't get any stuck notes or anything like that. And you should also be able to automate or modulate it for interesting results. And interesting thing about the on parameter now, it's not a two-state value. It goes from 0 to 100%. And if you want to learn more about it, check out the changelog, as well as there is now a section called module on parameter in core concepts. But I will explain briefly at first with the audio process example. So let's look at the oscillator here. I have on the item 1 is the 2 squares with a VA filter. Then I have a rectified sine and alternating sine, and their shape parameters are modulated, and the cutoff frequency of the filter is also modulated. So what I will do, I will play a note and then I'll turn a VA filter on and off. It has a clickless behavior. What it does is that turning off doesn't actually bypass the VA filter's internal DSP. It's still processing the sound. It's not outputting it when it's turned off. And when I turn it on and off, what it does a quick crossfade between the input and its output. And I can, in fact, modulate it using a simple LFO. So if I take set the modulation target VA filters on parameter, set to -100. Let's pick a unipolar shape, and let's trigger the sound. What the simple LFO is doing is quickly fading the VA filter in and out. So that's how the audio processors behave. The MIDI processor modules, what they do is they handle it slightly different, whatever's most appropriate for that module. So I'm going to unbypass the chord and arpeggiator module here. And what the arpeggiator does now is that when its own parameters value is less than 50% off, it retriggers the input. Right? We will hear the input chord. As soon as the value is above 50%, it will continue arpeggiating. So let me demonstrate. I'm going to trigger the note, which will trigger this chord, and it will start arpeggiating, and then I'll turn it on, off and on. And like I said, the own parameters are performance-oriented. So we have a modulator group here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to modulate these parameters. I have a Euclid sequencer here. And what it does, it has 16 steps and 3 pulses. And when I trigger a note on event, it will just create these 3 pulses every 16 steps. But instead of hearing that, we are converting those MIDI messages into a modulation signal using MIDI sources note on-off gate. So every time note on comes in, it will go to 100%, and when it's released, it drops back to 0. Actually, the amount follows the velocity. So note on modulation value corresponds to whatever the value is velocity. So in this case, it's 127, so it will jump to 100%. And our targets are Arpeggiator's own parameter, so it will turn it off when it will hit these notes. And it will also turn off the 4th note in the chord module. So what will happen is that it will arpeggiate during these steps, and every time it will hit this pulse, it will play a 3-note chord. So let's turn the modulator on and let's hear what this sounds like. So I didn't get a chance to mention all the changes made to the MIDI processors, but there's a lot more, so check out the changelog. And as I said, with this update, the on parameter across all modules is performance-oriented, so modulate and automate it, and have fun. Okay, that's all for now. For any questions or feedback, leave a comment below. And if you enjoy using Mela, please leave a review on the App Store. Thank you, and see you next time.